Every single day, we see technology changing our world in ways that are, well, both exciting and maybe a little bit unsettling. But what if all these little changes, the AI in your phone, the robots in factories, all of it, what if they're part of something much, much bigger? Today, we're diving into a massive shift that we are all living through right now, the fourth industrial revolution. And it's a story with two very different endings being told, one of incredible promise and one of potential peril. So let's just start with that big question, right? Are we actually living through a new revolution? I mean, the term gets thrown around a lot, but the core idea here is that the speed and the sheer scale of the change we're seeing today, it's not just an upgrade, it's a total disruption. And to really get what that means, we need to define our terms. So the person who really put this idea on the map is Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum. He defines this fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR for short, as a fusion of worlds. And this is key. It's not just about cool new gadgets, it's about the lines blurring between the physical things we can touch, the digital world of code, and even the biological world of, well, us. This idea of convergence is the absolute heart of what we're talking about. Now, to really wrap our heads around what makes this moment so unique, we need to see how it fits into the bigger picture of history. Because according to Schwab, this revolution is completely different from anything that's come before. Okay, so a quick history lesson. The first industrial revolution, that was all about steam power. The second gave us electricity and mass production. Then the third, which many of us grew up in, was the digital revolution, computers, the internet. Each one built on the last, right? But the fourth is different. It doesn't just build on them, it integrates them. It's weaving everything together into a single, smart, interconnected world. All right, let's start with the first side of the story, the incredible promise. This is that optimistic, tech-forward vision pushed by people like Schwab and the World Economic Forum. It's a vision of a future that's more efficient, way more intelligent, and connected on a truly global scale. And what's powering this future? Well, think of these as the main engines of the revolution. You've got artificial intelligence making smarter decisions, the Internet of Things connecting billions of devices, blockchain creating secure ways to transact, and then there's the wild card, quantum computing, which could solve problems we can't even imagine right now. And if you want to understand the economic scale of this, just look at this number. A recent McKinsey report predicts that AI alone could pump $13 trillion into the global economy by 2030. That's not a typo, trillion, with a T. That one number shows you the massive financial force that's driving this whole transformation. But listen, this isn't just some abstract futuristic theory. It's happening as we speak. For instance, BMW is using these cobots, collaborative robots, to work right alongside people, and it's speeding up their assembly time by 25%. Meanwhile, Unilever is using AI to figure out what you're going to buy next, and it's cutting their supply chain costs by a massive 15%. Here's another one you might have even used yourself. Nike lets you go online and use AI to design your own personalized sneakers. Now, that's not just a cool gimmick. It directly led to a 20% jump in their online sales. It just goes to show you how this revolution is already changing how things are made and sold. Okay. But that's only one side of the coin. Now, we're going to take a sharp turn. Let's explore the other side. The warnings, the critical perspectives that start to question the agenda behind this whole revolution. One of the big critical voices out there is Daniel Lopez. And he describes Klaus Schwab not as some visionary, but as a modern oracle. Now, that's not a compliment. It's meant to be skeptical, to suggest that maybe the World Economic Forum isn't just predicting the future. Maybe it's trying to build a very specific version of it. And right at the center of this critique is this term you may have heard, the Great Reset. Now, officially, on paper, it's a World Economic Forum plan to rebuild the global economy more sustainably after a crisis. But critics, like Lopez, they see something different. They suggest this reset is an agenda that could be pushed through during a time of global chaos. And nothing captures the fear around this idea more than this one really provocative line. It was published by the World Economic Forum back in 2016 as part of a prediction piece. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. Now, the WEF says this was just a thought experiment about a future rental economy. But critics, well, they point to it as Exhibit A for a future where we lose individual ownership and control. And that brings us to another thing that makes critics nervous. An event called Cyber Polygon. It's basically a war game, a simulation run by the World Economic Forum,
to prepare for what they call a cyber pandemic, a massive cyber attack. For critics, this feels a little too close to real-world events, like the 2015 cyber attack that caused a blackout in Ukraine, and it makes them question the whole thing.
So this really gets to the core question that the critics are asking. Is the World Economic Forum just trying to help the world prepare for crises that are bound to happen? Or, and this is the fear, could they be setting the stage, creating the very conditions they need to push through a controversial agenda like the Great Reset? So you've got this promise of a super efficient, connected world on one hand. And on the other, you've got this warning of a controlled reset future. So let's bring it all home. What does any of this actually mean for us, for our jobs, for our daily lives? Okay, let's talk jobs. The forecast here tells two stories at once. The World Economic Forum thinks automation could get rid of 85 million jobs by 2030. That sounds terrifying, right? But in the same report, they predict that 97 million new jobs will be created, mostly in areas like green energy and data science. So the big takeaway is, yeah, it's a huge disruption, but it's also a moment of huge opportunity. But getting to that better future means we have to face some serious challenges head-on. I mean, 60% of companies say they're already struggling with ethical problems around AI. The digital divide is just massive. So much of the world doesn't even have the internet needed to take part. And we all remember scandals like Cambridge Analytica, which was a huge wake-up call about our data privacy. These are not small problems. So what can we actually do? Well, the consensus seems to be that it's a shared responsibility. For you and me, as individuals, it means we have to keep learning and lean into skills that are uniquely human, like creativity. For companies, it's about innovating smartly. And for governments, it's about putting smart rules in place while making sure education is available to everyone. And this really brings us to the final and maybe most important point. Whether you're an optimist or a skeptic on this, the one thing everyone seems to agree on is that this future isn't just going to happen to us. It's a future we have to actively choose. Ultimately, this isn't a simple pro-tech versus anti-tech debate. That ship has sailed. The real conversation, the one that matters, is about how we build this future. It's about being awake, being vigilant, and consciously steering these powerful tools toward a future that's fair, ethical, and actually good for all of us. So we end right where we started, with a fundamental choice. Is this fusion of our physical, digital, and biological selves going to unlock an age of opportunity we can barely imagine? Or could it lead to a future of unprecedented control? The answer isn't written in stone. It's being written by us, right now.